This defines everything for the Texans. With a lot of buzz going on in OTAs, we got to look at basically everything that's happened over the past few days. You got players sitting out. You have offensive line kind of struggles. It's not looking great, but there are some good signs. There are some bad signs. We're going to break it down all on Texans Digest. First things first, if you're new to the channel, 77% of you are not subscribed. I appreciate everyone watching the videos. Comments have been going crazy. But honestly, the growth for the past month, thank you guys, it really wouldn't be possible without you watching. But let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on just basically Texans training camp, OTAs. You got mandatory mini camps on the way. I mean, I know it's early in terms of the offseason, and there's a couple articles, but mainly there is not a big concern. You look at the biggest thing right now is the fact that the Texans quarterback, their franchise guy, Stroud, has not thrown the ball, right? It's really just soreness. They're taking extra precaution. He has a little bit of shoulder soreness. Nick Caley described it as, hey, this is something that we're going to be looking forward to, getting him ready for the start of the season, not necessarily needing him to be back right away. So that's something that you have to look at. Stroud is suffering from tightness in his pectoral muscle. So if he even has any slight discomfort, especially 2 months out from the season, you got whole month of June, July, and August. I mean, he's not really going to play in preseason games, which I'm not worried about, but you have to still look at the fact that they kind of need to be in a rhythm going by August. But still, that's 2 full months for Stroud to just kind of, rehab. I mean, I don't really know. It's not really severe. So again, extra precaution. There's no really need for him to be going crazy in June, especially at OTAs. But mandatory mini camps on the way. You want to start to get your offense rolling in rhythm, especially in that month of August. You don't want the Texans to kind of be in and out in terms of how they start their season, because you have to look at the fact that there are a lot of new receivers, and that is a big deal in terms of looking at this team. Now, something I glossed over earlier, the 2 joint practices the Texans are having before preseason games, the Lions and Panthers. These are going to be 2 important practices, DeMeco Ryans has said, and hopefully C.J. Stroud is ready to go by the end of July or whatever these joint practices are. But you have to look at the fact that, I mean, they're going to take precaution. So, the Lions will be a good opponent. Last year, the Texans were up big, and then the Lions came back and kicked the game-winning field goal. But we're not going to talk about that. But that's just the news we have to kind of mention, is that they do have 2 joint practices. On to the offensive line. We've talked about all offseason how the Texans' offensive line has been kind of improved. There's been a lot of rumors that there is not enough talent on the offensive line from, analysts and all that kind of jazz. I mean, this isn't the best sign when you have DeMeco Ryans saying it's our first day of OTAs, we're going to find our best group of guys. But I guess that's kind of typical when you're looking at a new offensive line. You have a lot of new names: Cam Robinson, Trent Brown. You drafted a rookie in Ariante Ursary. You have Trent Brown. You brought in a lot of guys because you had to trade a lot of the guys that were not good for you last year. Kenyon Green, got him out. Shaq Mason, got him out. There was a lot of problems on the offensive line, and I think this is the best way to do it. Find a way to get the best 5 guys out there, whether that's competition. I don't really care. I mean, if it's, Blake Fisher starting to right tackle, I'm fine with that. If it's, depending on what the situation is. If Ariante Ursary beats out Cam Robinson for camp, that's fine by me. He's got a guy to coach him up now. So it's really crucial the Texans kind of take this as seriously as possible, because you're looking at the fact that this offensive line is not necessarily the greatest, but I think it's a lot better than what people are making it out to be, especially the analysts saying, oh, the Texans had a terrible draft because they should have drafted tackle at 25. There was nobody available. So you trade back, you get wide receiver. It's such a great idea because you don't have depth at wide receiver. You just don't. And you need that extra Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel, because realistically, how much longer is Christian Kirk going to play for, especially at a high level coming off, injury season? So that's something to look forward to. Jalen Noel's the future slot receiver if Tank Dell can't get right, and then we don't know. So I like the Noel pickup. It's just depth. And then from what happened last year with the Texans and injuries, you want to make sure you have that depth. Same thing with the offensive line. I like the depth that they have, but my point here is there's no need to draft offensive line when you didn't have that luxury to begin with. So love the Texans draft, love the offensive line. I think it's going to shape out good. I mean, it's not going to be anything top 10 or top, it's probably going to be top 20, but you don't need an elite offensive line to be a Super Bowl contending team. You just need enough time for CJ Stroud to throw the ball. And this is where, not in OTAs, but mandatory minicamps, as you're getting closer and closer to the season, everything's going to start to count for who's going to want that role. Whether it's Cam Robinson at left tackle, you have Lincoln Tomlinson at left guard, you have Patterson or Scruggs, whoever's going to start at center. Right guard will be Titus Howard, and then right tackle is looking like Blake Fisher, but Trent Brown we haven't seen because he's also been on an injury. But that's the offensive line. There's technically struggles, but again, it's still very early. That's what the whole point here is, and I wouldn't be too concerned with the offensive line's having struggled. This is what you're going to expect with new guys working with each other, new voices. So they have to figure out how to mesh well together. Fifthly, the culture change. I mean, Will Anderson has been the leader on defense, the face of the defense, and now he's talking about, hey, it might be year 3 for me, but I'm going to be passing down as much information as I can to everyone else. And just the way he talks about the team, it really is just such a different team and well coached, right? With DeMeco Ryans, it's really a culture change in Houston. And with Will Anderson, I mean, that is a guy who's a leader. I mean, you look at this team, and that is really the face of the defensive line. Danielle Hunter is great, and, that's a great 1-2 punch. I really couldn't say. I feel like Will Anderson's Batman, and Danielle Hunter's Robin. I mean, I don't know. Will Anderson is something incredible. I love that the Texans traded up for him when they drafted him a few years back. But, I mean, looking at this team, that's what you want to see. And not only the defensive side, but you look at Christian Kirk, new and improved wide receiver, and he's talking about the culture change and how different it is to be in Houston rather than other places. And, that's just the firepower of the coaching staff and everybody else bringing the team together. That'll be the reason they succeed late in the season. So Kirk is expecting this team to be top of the division. This is where you want to be if you're Houston because you have the coaching staff. You bring in Nick Caley because the culture shift was not the greatest. Bobby Slowick, he did a good job his first year with the Texans. CJ Stroud had a good rookie year. Second year, they fell down badly. Top 20 offense compared to a top 12 offense the season before. You need to have a consistent offense. And yes, sophomore slumps do exist, but not with quarterbacks. And I think with the combination of offensive line struggles, wide receiver injuries, bad play calling, that's where CJ Stroud struggled so much. But it wasn't the fact that Stroud struggled. It was just bad system, not enough weapons, and an offensive line struggle. And that can really, I'm not trying to make excuses for Stroud, but I don't think it's on him. He tried his best, and it just didn't work out. Kirk, and having a veteran in here to coach up Jalen Noel. Jaden Higgins is probably going to be starting day 1, but to have somebody else speak out about how the team is doing, that's always great to hear. And for all the guys that have been sitting out of training camp, and training camp hasn't started yet, but OTAs, you got OTAs, mandatory minicamp, and then training camp. So for all the guys that have been sitting out, I'm not really too concerned, right? They're on different schedules. They're on different routines. Like, you look at Joe Mixon on the boot. I mean, you don't want him to rush back from that ankle injury, especially at the age of 29. You want him to be ready for the start of the season. I don't really care if he doesn't play until August 25th in terms of practice-wise. I want him to be right. We all heard about the Christian McCaffrey rumors for the 49ers last year, and the Niners were like, yeah, he's fine. They rushed him back, and look what happened. Achilles tendonitis, he sat out 10 weeks. So, again, Mixon is going to be good by the season, so I'm not going to force him. But, like, you look at a couple other guys in terms of Christian Harris is coming back for training camp. So a lot of good news in terms of what the Texans are looking for. And you have to look at that culture change. Stroud is sitting out. This team is not going to be full force ready to go. I mean, it's definitely different than other OTAs as far as what Kirk has said, but you definitely want to be full force ready to go by the end of June, and then July, August, have that to be, okay, this is what the offense is going to look like. Here's our checks at the line, and that's the whole thing with the new offensive coordinator in Nick Caley, and why I believe in the Texans so much is pretty much DeMeco Ryans. If this was a different coach team, I'd have a lot more concerns of, hey, this is a first-year offense. This is new weapons for Stroud, new offensive line. But I think everything will shape together quite nicely, and when we get the players back that we have, Harris being ready for training camp, Mixon probably be ready for a little while, Stroud will probably sit out a couple more weeks, do his thing. You don't want your star players to be thrown into the mix. You want them to play, obviously, but you want them to play healthy. And I love the precautions the Texans have been taking. It's looking really good for this team, and I am very excited to just look more and look into the future. I can't wait for the season. It's just the fact that it's still June, July, August, 3.5 months, 2-3 months till football season is crazy. So I am beyond excited. Let me know your thoughts on the Texans season. It's going to be a lot of fun. OTAs have been crazy. There's everything you kind of need to know broken down in terms of how the Texans are going to really come out swinging. I mean, OTAs aren't going to define you. It's really what happens when you get to week 1. But all these things are rumors and not rumors, but just things that are going on inside training camp from what I could find on all these other sites. So thank you everyone so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, hit that sub button to stay up to date with all Texans news. This has been Mike Zanetti, Texans Digest, and we'll see you in the next video.